Haunted lot. After the shadow incident, I never get to experience anything again inside our house. But I did experience supernatural things outside on our street, and this time I experienced it with my friends. My friends and I usually meet to play at around 3 to 4 p.m. until 6 to 7 p.m. or until 10 p.m. if there's a party at one's house. We were aged around 6 to 9 years old at that time, and I was the oldest. We don't usually ring each other's doorbells or shout the names of our friends outside their homes to play. We just hang in front of their house and wait for them to peek outside to know we are waiting for them to come out and play. One day, we met around 3 to 4 in the afternoon. There were 4 of us, not real names: Kinito, 6 years old, Rajay, 7 years old, Sion, 8 years old, and me, 9 years old. Sion and Rajay are cousins, and I was the only girl in the group. There were still a lot of vacant lots back then, but now the street is almost full of houses. After meeting in front of our house, we talked about what we were going to do that day. Since there was a new house being built on our street, we decided to play there with the workers, as we know it's their break/merienda time, and since we were still kids and really mischievous, the workers doesn't seem to mind whenever we're at the site as long as they weren't working. When we got to the site, which was just 4 lots away from my house, we noticed that the site was quiet and the straw door was closed. As I said, we were mischievous back then, so we still went inside by opening the door. The construction site was empty and no one was in sight. Since we have an active imagination, we thought that maybe they were hiding from us, knowing that we were going to come at that time of the day. I came up with the thought that maybe they were hiding behind the walls, the wall that separates each street of the subdivision. The site was big, maybe around 400 square meters, so it may take 30 seconds or so for us to reach the wall. As we were about halfway to the wall when we passed by the makeshift hut made of plywood, the battery-powered radio suddenly turned on by itself. A moment just before the radio turned on, I heard a nail fall from where the house was being built. It was just several meters away from us. The house just consisted of columns, floor, and stairs at that time, so we can easily see if someone was there, as there were no walls. It confused me as to why a nail would fall from somewhere inside the unfinished house, since no one was there. I thought that maybe it was because of the wind, but it was impossible as there was barely a breeze then. I also thought that maybe a bird nudged it, but I never saw a bird fly away from where the noise was. Back to the radio. The radio was placed hanging near the roof outside of the makeshift hut, which was maybe 6 feet high. Me being the eldest and tallest of the group, almost 5 feet, I was the only one who could reach it if I stand on the bench just below the radio. But since I was beside my friends, neither of us touched the radio. The hut's door was open, so we thought that maybe the radio was remote controlled and one of the workers was inside the hut controlling it. Kinito decided to check inside while the radio was still playing, but told us that no one was there. After he came back to our side, the radio turned off by itself again, and that's when we started to get scared. Since it's clear that no one was there at the site, we scrambled out of the site and ran to Sion and Rajay's house, which was just beside ours. After an hour or less, we saw the workers pass by in front of our houses, Sion's and mine, back from the sari store. All of them were on their bikes. Months after the house was finished, my friends and I befriended the caretakers, a couple, of the house. Since the owner of the house isn't always there, the caretakers allowed us to play inside the house's wide garden. It has a small pond in the middle, and they even have a pet tortoise just roaming around the area. The couple mentioned that they've been experiencing things inside the house whenever they're alone, so they allowed us to play in the garden to help lessen the house's eeriness. After they mentioned their experiences, we said that there is something there, as we also experienced it when the house was just being built. One day when my aunt and I were taking an afternoon walk, my aunt decided to chat with the caretakers. They were talking about having the house blessed as the supernatural occurrences were getting worse, like things getting thrown out of nowhere. As they were talking in front of the gate, I suddenly heard something on the house's second floor, as if a book suddenly fell flat on the floor. My aunt and the caretaker also heard it, and I asked the caretaker if Sniffles the pug, owner's pet, was there with them. She said no, followed by, "See what I mean?" After that, they have the house blessed by the pastor from our church. My aunt was an usher back then. This was the last encounter I had on that subdivision before we moved out to another subdivision due to family reasons. Thanks for reading.